Welcome to the France 24 Observers, the show that's based on our network of ordinary people who are our eyes and ears around the world. We begin today in Bahrain. It is the forgotten story of the Arab Spring. For 3 years now, members of the Shia majority have been demonstrating every week to get better treatment from the Sunni royal family. The demonstrations get very little attention in the international media, nor does the violent repression by the kingdom's security services, who, our observer tells us, have clearly taken sides.
In this video, you see a Shiite demonstrator who's been arrested. The police are taking him away in one of their vehicles. You see the man get insulted and beaten by an officer from the Interior Ministry. The officer shouts insults about the demonstrators' Shiite faith. It's more proof that the Interior Ministry, which is responsible for security in Bahrain, is made up of people who practice discrimination and sectarianism. There have been several videos like this on YouTube. One of them showed a group of officers looting a shop that belonged to a Shiite. They steal things, mess things up, and destroy the store, with the help of thugs wearing hoods. There have been hundreds of acts of violence in Bahrain since the protest movement began, but the authorities only take action in cases where we've been able to document the crimes on video or in photos. And when human rights groups say the perpetrators should be brought to justice, very often they're acquitted. That's the way our justice system works. It's not independent. When it comes to human rights cases, the courts either acquit the perpetrators or reduce their sentences. The world is changing and becoming more democratic. The people of Bahrain deserve to have a government that's elected, an independent justice system, and an end to discrimination against Shiites.
Next up, Rocinha, one of the favelas in Rio de Janeiro. You might remember it from 3 years ago when heavily armed police went in to clear out the drug gangs ahead of the World Cup. Our observer is a young French woman doing humanitarian work. She was amazed to find that many of the residents prefer the bad old days when the police stayed away.
I often hear shooting. It usually happens early in the morning or late at night. A burst of gunfire lasting 10 seconds or so. Last Monday, a military police helicopter flew over the favela looking for a gang involved in credit card fraud. Anything can happen in Rocinha. You can just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. It certainly doesn't feel like it's being pacified. It seems more like a war zone. Most people say things were better in the favela before the peacekeeping operation, because the more the police move around, the more they run into the drug gangs, and that's when they're shooting. Before, people knew that there were bad areas with lots of gang members and they stayed away from them. But now that the police go where they want, there can be shooting anywhere, even in a busy shopping street. The police have a way of swaggering about the favela. You get the impression they're ready to take out their guns at the tiniest provocation. It's scary. They don't seem to be interested in social policing, day-to-day interaction with the locals. For example, there used to be a school next to the sports centre, but they knocked it down so they could build a police station. That kind of decision creates a climate of fear, not peace.
And now for some other stories and images sent in by our observers. First stop, Guinea in West Africa, one of the countries battling an epidemic of Ebola. People are being encouraged to wash their hands with chlorine to help prevent infection. International organizations like UNICEF distribute bottles of the fluid for free, but our observers have spotted it being sold in the market. They say local officials have apparently chosen to make a business out of reselling what they should be distributing for free. Now to Kwekwe, a mining city in central Zimbabwe. Our observer Tendai tells us his taps have been dry for more than a week. The water has been cut off. Now Tendai has been paying his bills. The problem is the city owes money to the central government, and that's why the water has been cut off. Residents have had to rely on wells, and some children have fallen sick. Apes on the roofs of Benghazi. That's what happened last week as fighting raged on in the Libyan city. When the combat got close to one of the city's zoos, local teens liberated around 30 primates. They spent the next 2 days wandering around the city, even coming into houses. Our observer said it looked like the end of the world. 2 of the apes were eventually found dead, apparently caught in the crossfire. The others were rounded up and returned to the zoo. And finally, the longest urban tunnel in Europe, the Blanka Tunnel in Prague, has just been completed after years of delays. 6 kilometers, all downhill. It's heaven for skateboarders like our observer George. He says it takes about 26 minutes end to end, just enough time to beat the police, provided you don't fall. The tunnel is due to open to motorized traffic on December 2nd. That's it for this week. As always, you can find more reports from our observers on our website, on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and on our apps for mobiles. See you next time.